Okay, Beggsy's back, baby. You know who else is going to be back? Thatcher Demko. It's like the NHL has forgotten that he's actually a good goaltender, and the disrespect towards Thatcher Demko has gotten unreal. More on that next year on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer and part-time credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. And before we dive into today's show, we got to thank you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks. It's your team every day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, first and foremost, Kyle, shout out to you for covering my butt while I was off choosing my family over the Vancouver Canucks. But today I'm coming back with some fire, baby, because I'm pissed off. Pissed off about the Thatcher Demko disrespect. We got to talk about that. Maybe a little backup goalie talk as well, because that's important, man. 25 to 30 games. One of these guys is going to play for the Vancouver Canucks. We're going to get on that, talk about that later. But first and foremost, again, round of applause to you, Kyle. Round of applause to you. You killed it in my absence. And how you doing today, brother?
Well, to be honest, bro, I don't really think I killed it. I'll always poking some holes at my performance. I feel as if when it's a solo show, I think too much, so I'm not really myself. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm excited to have you back, okay, for real. So I can just loosen up the shoulders, get groovy, and play my role for real on here. The show, Locked On Canucks, your Canucks, every day. We'll get to Comment Corner at the end of the show. Man, oh man, we're going to talk about partying, okay? Partying at the end of the show. We're also going to talk about working out because Trevor, it's September, that push-up challenge at the end of the month. Okay, there you go. There you go, baby. There you go. Show the MILFs. All right? Anyways, where am I going with this? Oh, yeah, Demko. The conundrum. The disrespect. Not just on the Locked On poll, but I think B, across the league a bit, but also C, I think in Canuck Nation as well. I think when we've been talking about how the Canucks can do what they got to do, and we're talking about the players, the main guys, Thatcher Demko he's behind JT Miller in the conversations now. You know what I'm saying? It's like Pettersson, Hughes, Miller, then Demko. That's a little disrespectful,
I would almost say he's behind Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko, just with the way he came in last season, is getting more love and attention than Thatcher Demko. But Kyle, I've been pissed off about the Thatcher Demko disrespect for almost a month now. So I'm going to dive into it quickly for the listeners. We were all asked by the Locked On overlords to rate the best goaltenders in the NHL about a month ago, and I'm just going to rip through them here. Number 1, Andrei Vasilevsky. Number 2, Igor Shesterkin. Number 3, Connor Hellebuck. Number 4, UC Saros. Number 5, Elias Sorokin. I don't think any of those guys, Demko's not ahead of any of those guys. I used to think he was on par with Saros, but after last year, I could see him being below him. Sorokin got disrespected for sure there, though. He should have been top 3. Later on, number 6, Linus Ullmark. Number 7, Jake Ottinger. And this is where I think it starts to get a little stupid, the disrespect towards Thatcher Demko. Number 8, Alex Georgiev, first-time starter with the Colorado Avalanche. Number 9, Philip Gustafson. Number 10, Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner? About Demko?
Dude, come
Number
on.
11, Sergei Bobrovsky. Number 12, Jacob Markstrom. Number 3, Jeremy Swayman. He's a backup. Number 4, Carter Hart. Are you kidding me? Thatcher Demko wasn't even listed as an option for one of the top goalies in the NHL. I got to ask you, Kyle, is Thatcher Demko a mediocre starter in the NHL now?
So at number 13, we had who? And number 14, we had who? Number 13,
Number 13 was Jeremy Swayman.
Oh, my God.
The 1B goaltender for the Boston Bruins. And number 4 was Carter Hart of the Philadelphia Flyers.
At number 14.
Thatcher Demko didn't even make the list. Those are the 14 options for rank these the 14 best goaltenders in the NHL. Thatcher Demko didn't even make the list, man. And it has me pissed off, Kyle.
Well, recency bias, right? Podcasters, full-time podcasters were ingrained with the recency bias. And, Demko didn't play a lot last year, and he looked better at the end. But in the beginning of the season, Demko was one of the worst goaltenders in hockey. So I guarantee, that had a lot to do with the poll results here on the Locked On NHL Podcast Network. The other thing is, These people aren't watching a lot of Canucks games. Not last year, we can put last year out the window, but just in general, over the last couple of seasons, they're not watching Thatcher Demko. Him 2 seasons ago was, pretty up there as far as like individually being a top end athletic goaltender and bailing his team out and doing his thing and whatnot. Like, you can tell, get use the eye test. There's not a lot of goalies out there like Thatcher Demko when he's on his game.
Yeah, and I know you and Jose touched on it last week. Again, we got to get more fans of the program. If you want to be on Locked On Canucks, get in touch with us. We'd love to have more fans of the program, make it a regular thing. But I think Jose said that Demko's one of the best goaltenders in Canucks history. And honestly, he's not wrong, because when you look at some of the best goaltenders in Canucks history, I think you go with the 3 guys that got into the Cup final: Richard Brodeur, Kirk McLean, Roberto Luongo. And then after that, it's kind of like Markstrom, Cloutier, Demko, like those names. Like, there's just not a lot of great goalies in Canucks history. But, Demko, again, he's been with this organization a long time. But really, he's been a starter for about 2.5 seasons, right? About midway through that 2020-21 disaster of a season for the Vancouver Canucks. But in terms of how he's performed as being a starter, Thatcher Demko has a top 10 save percentage at even strength over the past 3 seasons among regular NHL goaltenders. And again, some of the guys above him on this list are guys that have barely played games. Like, they've played backup minutes. That includes Jeremy Swayman. That includes Philip Gustafsson. Chris Driedger actually is on that list as well. So again, really the only starters ahead of Demko who have, over the last 3 seasons, in terms of even strength save percentage, it's Allmark, Saros, Sorokin, Shesterkin, and Vasilevsky. Okay, but Demko, to me, belongs in that company. Again, last season he had a bad couple months, gets injured, and comes back, and he looks like the Demko of old. So, I mean, it goes back to, again, the Canucks not being a very good hockey team, and that's the reason I think he's getting disrespected here.
Yeah, that's the biggest reason why he's being disrespected. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna I'm gonna make sure he's accountable in a couple minutes. But if you put Demko on Colorado or Boston, you know what I'm saying? If you put Demko in Edmonton, maybe Edmonton, faulty defensively, and again, we have to say it. Demko really did suck last year when he came back in. He was rusty, coming off an injury, wasn't at his best. Blah blah blah. Anywho, this season there's no excuses, and maybe, just maybe, on this side, right? Let's hone it in on the West Coast, the Best Coast, Vancouver, this fan base. Maybe we've kind of been collectively a little turned off from Thatcher Demko because of the swagger that he had last year going into the season, and again, he was just bad. He was just bad, just really bad in October. And you said it earlier, like I said, oh, he's behind JT Miller when it comes to the important players on the Vancouver Canucks in our eyes, when realistically he should be number 3. He should be number 3. Pettersson, Hughes, Pettersson, Demko. And then you said Kuzmenko. So you're saying the fan base, a part of the fan base, has Demko as like their 5th favorite Canuck, when my bad. That's a little twisted.
No, I'm getting choked up about this too, Kyle. I'm telling you, I again, to me, Demko, I would have probably argued he's the most important Canuck next season. And I've said this before. Shout out to the everydayers on here on Locked On Canucks. They know this. But I think you know what you're going to get from Hughes and Pettersson, and that is 2 of the best players in the league at their respective positions. But Demko's a bit more of a wild card. I mean, I'm pretty bullish on Demko. Kyle, we've been friends a long time. I've been bullish on Demko since before he even played an NHL game. But I'm very bullish on what Demko can do next season. But he's got to be good. If Demko's mediocre, I don't think the Canucks make it to the playoffs. Like, Demko's got to be back at where he was really throughout his whole NHL career, aside from about a half a season last year, or 2 months even last year.
It goes hand in hand. We've been talking about how, and I spoke about this with Jose. I said, the Vancouver Canucks, they got a lot of pressure on them. That being said, there's no excuses. This team doesn't need 20 games to get their things together for Susie and Cole and Hronek to understand the system and blah, blah, blah. No, it has to all hone in right away. We don't need 20 games for the PK to establish themselves and figure things out. No, it's got to happen right away. And why it's got to happen right away, most importantly, is so that it makes it easier for Demko just to, gain his momentum back. But it does go the other way around as well. Demko has to help out the PK and help out the defense by making the saves in the third period. Remember last year, that's where it really fell apart for the Vancouver Canucks in October. It's just the truth. It goes hand in hand. Everyone has to be accountable. The players have to do their jobs. And Demko, man, if you want to be recognized as one of the best in the league, dude, it's got to restart now, ASAP. And bro, you're making me a little excited because I think I am one of those people who kind of forgot about the importance of Thatcher Demko. Don't get me wrong. Like, I know how good he is and what he can do, but man, oh man, what if he does return to form? Like, what if he returns to a dominating like form with this team that's a little bit older and a little bit deeper on defense with Rick Tocchet now? Just getting a little excited. That's a recipe for some more wins in October and November, / allowing this team to start off the season with less pressure and not having to catch up so much, it's tough in life, man. To catch up, it's tough, man. Trust me, you and I 30 years old, bro. Look at us now. Look at us now, man. For real, man. We catching up too, baby.
Yeah. The more we catch up, the more our hair falls out. But that's a story for another day. Look, again, I'm expecting Demko to be, rock solid for the Canucks next season. If he's not, they're in trouble. But another reason why they could be in trouble is the backup situation. Okay. So we're going to talk about the backup situation next, because this is something that could define the Canucks season as well. And Kyle, I also got to ask you a question on the other side about, some of the other episodes you recorded while I was off choosing my family over Locked On Canucks. But first, I got to tell you, man, this newborn life has me short on sleep. Not only that, Kyle, okay, let me tell you about my vacation in Ottawa for just a minute here as we, support AG1. They're sponsoring the program today. I needed my AG1 when I was in Ottawa, okay, because not only did I have my two kids to deal with, but I had all my nieces and nephews to deal with as well. So if I didn't have a baby in my arms, or I wasn't chasing after my 2-year-old daughter, I had, my 3 nieces and nephews just all like wanted my attention and wanted to play, wanted to do this and do that. I'm telling you, man, I would not have survived my vacation. It was not a relaxing vacation. I would not have survived it without AG1, okay? Because when I drink AG1, I know it's an overall feeling of sustained energy, support for my mental clarity, and focus. And I need that focus to bring you the goods here on Locked On Canucks. AG1, they use a science-driven formulation of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food source nutrients. Science, baby. And Kyle, you and I, we're getting old, okay? We mentioned it. We're over the 30 mark. So we need a little AG1 to keep us feeling like we're only 29. So if a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/NHL Network. That's drinkag1.com/NHL Network. Check it out.
People, before we get back to the show, baby, I gotta tell you that new episodes of Locked On Canucks will be available wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all, okay? New episodes every day at 4:20 p.m. Again, wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube. Let's get back to the show. Okay. We are back. Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day. I always tell the people, okay? Even though I've been recording over the last couple of days and did one yesterday, anytime we restart the week, it takes me like 10 minutes to get back into the mojo. And I gotta clean that up for October, because we're not taking no games off. If we're challenging the Canucks to not take any games off and take this stuff seriously from the get-go, I gotta do the same, Trevor Beggs, for real. Hey, speaking of which, Beggsy, you thought I was joking when I said I'm gonna do 100 push-ups in a row by the end of September. Okay, again, we're challenging the Canucks to get into shape. That's one of the ways the Canucks can, change their fortunes early on. Be one of the best teams when it comes to personal fitness, individually and collectively in the NHL. And you admitted that, you're being a father and it's tough out there. You literally don't have 20 minutes to spare. It's just the way it is. But it's never too late, man, to wake up in the morning, maybe 10 minutes earlier, and just bang out some push-ups. Because you know what, Trevor? That's all I've been doing. Look at this. That's Kyle Bhawan right there, man. That's Kyle Bhawan right there, man. For real. And you know why I had to post that photo right now? People are gonna be like, "Oh, you're gassing yourself." No, man. I'm holding Trevor Beggs accountable. And B, I had somebody comment on the show. I know this is not Comment Corner, But they were talking about how they enjoy the content, but they can't stand hearing this baby talk. And I'm pretty sure they weren't alluding to you as the baby, okay? It's the voice. I get it. But does this look like a baby? Does this look like a baby, Trevor? Or does it look like a man, huh? Does it look like a baby? Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day. Backup conundrum. Beggsy, take the lead.
I was just gonna say first before I get into the backups, I talked to your girl and she said, what you lack in terms of a deep voice, you make up for below the belt. So, anyways, that's for another for an episode of All Week with Cal Bhawan. Okay?
Why are you talking to my girl about private stuff, man? Come on, I thought you were my bro, and that's a lie, dude. Trust me, man.
She brought it up.
She's never said that to me.
She doesn't want to inflate your ego.
Fair enough. Okay, backup options.
Okay, one of these backups, they need to have an inflated ego because I think last season, we saw Spencer Martin getting some confidence in that backup role. Every time he stepped in, he was kind of performing above expectations, and then as soon as he was thrust into the starter's role, playing behind that messy defense, it's like his confidence was shattered. So he played well in the AHL towards the end of last season. I wonder where his confidence is at. I imagine it's not great though, because Patrick Allvin, every time so far since the Canucks season ended in April, when he's been asked about the backup spot, mentions Silovs before Spencer Martin. And I think what makes most sense, and I'm kind of torn about, Allvin and his comments about Silovs, because we've seen, at least with the forwards like Höglander and whatnot, this organization have the mentality that these guys got to marinate in the minors a little bit longer. And traditionally, goalies need even more marination than the forwards do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be a little surprised if Silovs is the backup next season. I think it's going to be Spencer Martin, but I'm not convinced of it. Regardless, it doesn't really matter because one of these guys is probably going to end up playing 25 to 30 games. And, we talked from the top of the show about Thatcher Demko and how, he needs to be good next season. But the backup needs to be at least average because, the Canucks as a wild card team. Exactly. The Canucks as a wild card team can't afford to lose, 15 or 16 of the 25 games that their backup starts because this team's not good enough to survive that to make the playoffs.
Yeah. And Demko is, again, I'm going to bed and I'm waking up with a injured shoulder, right? So if I call Demko fragile, I'm not taking the biggest shot. Okay. You get older, things happen, but Demko is a little fragile. This guy's, he's not going to put up 65 to 70 starts, that Luongo-esque type of energy back in the day. We need our best foot forward and we need to pick up wins, and Demko gives us the best chance, but man, oh man, he can only do that for 55 starts or else he's going to break down. And if he's only starting 35 games due to injury, the Canucks are drafting 8th overall again. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It's just the truth. So this is a bit of a conundrum. Now, I think this is how they're going to make their decision, right? Because you are right. And look what the Canucks did with Corey Schneider and Thatcher Demko. You just let them marinate, let them do their thing, give them their starts, give them their time, give those goalies their time in the AHL. But who's better? Silovs, who still needs to develop, or Martin? That's where it's at. And that answer matters so much this season because this season matters so much. I said it yesterday. There's no team in the NHL that has this much pressure on them. Yeah, you got the Maple Leafs and all that jazz, but based on the amount of pressure plus where this team is annually in the standings and what they have to do in order to, make the fan base happy, make the ownership happy, make Pettersson happy. Like, there's a lot of pressure here. So are they going to risk some development for a little bit more, for a few more points in the standings this year? Of course they are, because they gotta. So who do you think is, based on that logic, again, a Silovs who still needs to develop, still needs to marinate, versus Martin, who we know who he is. We know who he is. And, goaltenders can get lucky. He got lucky a couple of years ago. Not lucky, but momentum, He can get that confidence. Who, based on that logic, who do you think is going to be the backup?
I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I still think it's Martin. And part of the reason is, again, Martin played behind, the Bruce Boudreau-led defense last season, which, we've heard time and time again was a bit of a bleep show. So I would like to see Spencer Martin play behind a Rick Tocchet-led team, a team with a bit more structure, because they just left Martin out to dry last season. And Martin wasn't great by any means, but like I think it was the game against Winnipeg. Like he made a bunch of crazy saves, but still led in like 5 goals. You know what I mean? So I would still like to see Martin do it, because I think Silovs could benefit from another year developing. And even we saw in the AHL playoffs last season, Spencer Martin was the 1A to Silovs' 1B. So I think it's Martin's job to lose. That being said, we talked about confidence when we started this segment, right? And Silovs should have the confidence right now, because Alvin's mentioning his name first, and this dude just won Latvia bronze for the first time ever in the World Hockey Championships in the spring here. So curious to see how it plays out. My money's on Martin starting the year as the Canucks backup, and all the power to him, man. I hope he figures it out, because when he was the starter last season, he was being thrust to us in the media for questions after the game all the time, after those losses, after playing maybe not his best hockey. So obviously he's a good professional, seems like a nice guy, and I really hope he figures it out, man.
Yeah, and it's another contract year for him. Look what he did last time when he was heading into a contract year. You mentioned it with Silovs, the confidence, he has it, and again, the points matter so much this season. Oh, the Canucks, man, they're just such in an interesting situation, because development matters. You got to do things the right way. You want to make sure Silovs is getting the treatment / the starts he deserves and / needs to, again, develop. But again, man, the points matter, yo. And if this guy's got that swagger, everyone wants to play in the NHL, You can ask him, okay, would you rather start 25 games in the NHL or play, 60 in Abbotsford? He's going to say the NHL, he's still going to carry that confidence and, work with Clark and Demko. And I feel as if he'll still be able to pull off a lot of good things in those 20 to 25 games. We need to get Quadrelli on the show, man, because this guy knows everything about this guy. I guess my next question to you is, and again, Quadrelli would be able to answer this way better. Like Silovs is like peak. Like, what do you think it is? What do you think it is? How many Silovs games have you watched before you answer this? Because I think that does matter. But based on the hype, based on, again, what I've heard from like Canucks conversation and whatnot, and Kevin Woodley at times, it's like, dude, this guy could be the next starter for the Vancouver Canucks after Demko's contract expires.
Yeah, I think what stands out with Silovs, and I watched quite a bit of him in the AHL. Before that, it was a little bit more sparse. But his athleticism stands out for sure, and he's got a calmness about him too. That I see kind of like Demko was the same way at the same age, So yeah, stylistically, I don't think I'm enough of a goalie expert to give you. Yeah, he's gonna be like this guy, but I could see him being the next Thatcher Demko.
Ooh. That's the energy. Don't you feel that energy? Again, it's not just based on what he did in the summer and like the World Hockey Championships and whatnot. It's like, I feel as if since we got this guy and there's been a little bit of like a lore about his athleticism, then we kind of saw him develop and he's been getting better and better. And again, more and more people are kind of propping this guy up to be, again, the guy who ultimately doesn't allow Thatcher Demko to get another contract with the Vancouver Canucks when it's all said and done, unless Demko lives up. It's ironic because if Demko lives up to his potential, then it's axed, and it's like Silovs in a couple of years you're getting traded because Demko's at his peak. When he reaches his potential consistently, it's like, dude, this guy's a perennial Vezina candidate based on his athleticism, his calmness, and his ability. Goaltending heaven? I think so, man.
Let's go. Yeah, I remember that headline from a few months back. Maybe let us know in the comments, who do you want to see as the backup next season? Would you rather see Silovs or would you rather see Martin? I think we asked this question a couple of months back, but we're getting close to training camp, okay? It's becoming more real. Speaking of those comments, you know what's coming up on the other side. Comment corner to end the show here on Locked On Canucks.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome back to the conclusion of this episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bhawan. That is Trevor Beggs. Beggsy back from vacation. You sounded busy. You sounded a little overwhelmed too, but I hope you're full of love, man. Like, those are moments you got to cherish, man. My nephew, he's entering his first day of kindergarten today, which is great.
Wow.
Which is crazy, man. It's it's unreal how time just flies by, and I'm just the uncle who lives downstairs, and then you're over there, being a full-time parent. And again, man, cherish those memories. And where I want to go with this part of the show before we get to Common Corner is ask you this question. Do you take a lot of photos? Do you take a lot of photos of, I know you're not the social media guy. You stay off your phone a lot, but are you taking a lot of photos of these memories? Is the better half, the beautiful wife doing it? Because even though I don't take a lot of photos, I feel as if that may switch for me when I reach the next level in life and actually have children. So do you take a lot of photos of your kids?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lot, but I do take some. My better half definitely takes more, but
Good.
there's definitely some photos that pop up or videos and memories. Like I'll give you one quick example here. So like obviously we're having campfires every night at the lake house,
Mhm.
right? And I got a video of my niece. She's now 8.5, and I have videos of her when she was 3.5, like telling campfire stories, And it's cute as hell, man. Like this little 3.5-year-old trying to tell a ghost story. But now my daughter's starting to do the same thing at like almost 3 years old. So it's I don't know, it's just kind of cool, man. And I have that memory captured, so it's both those memories captured, I guess. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. And again, we're gonna get the Common Corner. Don't worry, hockey fans. All right, I just haven't seen Trevor in a long time, so let me just ask him a couple questions. Okay, he's a smart guy. He's a wise guy. You know how it's like? It's one of those things. Two things. When you're with your bros and you go on trips or you go on bar nights and whatnot, like again, we're not taking photos of each other. Just it's something that the boys don't do. That being said, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to take a couple photos so you have those memories, because sometimes they're hard to remember, but having them in hand, those epic nights with your bros, it would be a blessing. Number two, why are children's stories, like when they're telling the stories, why is it so funny? Like it's almost like Super Bad / Kevin Hart a decade ago type of funny, Russell Peters 20 years ago type of funny. Like why is it so entertaining? Like they're not saying anything obnoxious. They're not saying anything like rated R, something that, could tell the truth / be funny. It's not comedic, but again, why do you think it's so funny?
Well, I think there's like a cuteness and an innocence when you're learning the language too, right? Like my daughter's just rambling on about like, and they're such sponges, man. Like there's this old like abandoned barn by the lake house, and then she's just like, oh, and we saw a ghost at the barn, and it was a friendly ghost. And the story's like, it's like a ghost story, but it's nice. And then she's like, and then he died, and he's like talking about my 11-year-old nephew died. It's like this 2.5-year-old talking about like the friendly ghost and like her 11-year-old cousin dying. And I'm like, what the heck is going on, man?
It's the voice, you're right? The
feel.
innocence and the cuteness mixed with like you just seeing her trying to put these pieces together and like entertaining. And shout out to the youth, man. Shout out to the children. And I don't know if you're listening to this on the way back from school today with your parents. Learn. Knowledge is power. Take it from me, okay? Did not care about learning till I was 23 years old. And look at me. Look at me, man. Look at me, okay? Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, Locked On Canucks. Let's get to Common Corner. My favorite part of the show. Beggsy's back, baby. Let's do this.
Welcome to Comment Corner, powered by Paraphrasing.
This comment is from our friend Bob.
I think what Kyle is trying to say is he wants a glue guy who isn't addicted to sniffing glue and drinking even more glue.
All right. Thanks again for the comment. That one came via the live chat. Also on the comment note, we've also got some comments on the podcast platforms as well, on Apple and Spotify. So keep that up, okay? We're going to get to you later on throughout the week. Anywho, this comment. We talked about glue guys. Yes, glue guys yesterday on the program, right? We just had to do it, okay? I wasn't sniffing no glue, but I had to talk about it because it is PTO season, and I feel as if the Canucks are going to add anyone to the roster, it's got to be like for personality reasons or something, That being said, you have to bring in somebody. And for me, this wasn't the case. Like years ago, I wasn't thinking like this, but you have to bring in somebody who's not like, let him play the music, maybe let him organize a couple dinners, keep things loose, but he can't be the example / the reason why people are showing up hungover occasionally throughout the year. No, that's the thing though. That's the thing. Like, I'm not going to single people out. Well, I guess I'm going to do it, but guys like Shane O'Brien, Paul Bissonnette back in the day, those guys are looked at as like the glue guys, right? The glue guys, like that's like a prototypical glue guy.
Ryan Reeves.
Michael Del Zotto, Ryan Reeves, like playing the music, doing the thing, blah, blah, blah. But what else are you doing? Are you keeping things too loose? And again, making it a bit of a problem by having 2 or 3 more players showing up hungover for practice. And when it's such a fine line winning and losing in 2023 in sports these days, you got to have that competitive edge. So I got to ask you this question. Like, what do you think makes the perfect glue guy? And yeah, like the whole glue guy that parties a lot is somebody you don't want on your team for real.
Yeah, I think the glue guy maybe not so much, brings the partying aspect, but definitely brings that positivity, and
Mhm.
he's got to keep things upbeat. You know what I mean? That doesn't necessarily mean you got to go and get smashed with the boys, but got to be optimistic like you and me. Like I came in today with the fire, talk about how Demko's disrespected, how he's one of the best goalies in the NHL. Like that's the kind of optimism you need in the dressing room. Like you need someone to pump up the boys, to keep them laughing, keep them smiling when times are tough. And I just don't think the Canucks really had that last season. So, I mean, to me, that's the perfect glue guy. And nowadays, you got to be good at playing hockey. I think there's a lot of glue guys in the past who weren't so good at playing hockey. You got to be good at playing hockey in today's NHL. You got to be able to skate and contribute somehow on the ice.
Or you got to be able to perform hungover. Like if you're one of those guys,
Can you perform hungover?
No, I can't. But if you're one of those guys who are keeping things loose and making sure that it's always not so serious, it's cool. Like whatever, have a couple brewskis, do your thing. But you also got to be the first one on the ice. You got to just lead the way too. There has to be like a recipe to it. There has to be a recipe to it. It is what it is. I pulled up that Mark Cuban clip yesterday. Again, like I listened to a lot of Shane O'Brien's podcast, Missing Curfew. I think it's entertaining. Like the dude seems like a beauty. Like it is what it is. It's entertaining. He's a good guy. But based on what I've heard from him on that podcast and his experience playing in Vancouver, it was like, dude, the Canucks made it to the Stanley Cup Finals as soon as you right around the time you left, because you can't have guys like that. You can't have too many guys like that. And if you're going to have a guy like that, you can only have him if he shows up for 82 games a year, that work hard, play hard mentality.
I think that should be a goal for the show is to get Shane O'Brien on the program and ask him if he partied too much while being with the Vancouver
No,
Canucks.
he'll say yes. He'll say yes.
Yeah.
What I'd like to ask him, though, is do you wish anyone held you accountable?
Damn. Deep.
Because
that's the kind of deep stuff you get here on Locked On Canucks.
Of course. We'll sign out there, okay? We got all week to talk about this, but that's where my mind went. And do the Canucks need a glue guy? A lot of people refer to Teddy Bluger to be one of those
Teddy
guys.
Gluger.
Teddy Gluger. Oh, there you go. That's why I thought it was a typo, but I get it. But a lot of people refer to him. Do the Canucks need a guy like that? Again, there's a lot of pressure on this roster, a lot of pressure in that dressing room. Keep things light. Should they add that in the mix? Yeah, everyone's got to play their parts. Is that person Phil Kessel? Probably not. But again, we'll see how it goes in training camp and the PTO situation and all that jazz. Anyways, that was another episode of Locked On Canucks. A bit all over the place, but Beggsy and Kyle have not been doing this for the past 4 or 5 days. So it is what it is. Beggsy, sign us out.
Hey, there we go. Now, speaking of hangovers and sniffing glue, hopefully there was no performance issues on this episode of Locked On Canucks. So shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners. If this is your first time listening, welcome. We hope you stick around because the offseason is about to end, baby. Shows are about to come out 5 days a week once again. I just got back from vacation, so do I know what's coming up? Not necessarily, but hey, we got training camp. We got young stars coming up. We got lots to talk about. Season preview mode, baby. All that coming up here on Locked On Canucks. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That beauty is Kyle Bhawan, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.